4, 3, 2, 1. Good afternoon and welcome. Welcome to Atlantis University's first annual Women's History Month event. We have brought together for this special occasion a group of dynamic women that have made a contribution to not only their professions but to our society in major ways. Today we're going to talk to these women and some of our guests that are here with us. We're going to talk about not only women's history, but how women globally have made a contribution and continues to make a contribution to our society. Atlantis University, we are located in the heart of Miami. We are a proud community leader. We are a proud contributor to our community, to our students. We try to make a difference no matter where we are. And so we believe that by bringing together such a panel, that we will be able to ensure that Women's History Month lives on and that our students, as well as those of you in our community, are learning as much as possible. So with that being said, I'm going to turn around and take time to say welcome, 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 and thank you. Thank you, ladies, for being here today. Thank you for thinking enough about Atlantis University that you would join us on this day. So without further ado, I will give you about a minute to just introduce yourselves. Tell us a little about each of you, and then we'll jump into it. Me as your moderator, there are going to be some questions I'm going to ask you. We're going to allow our audience to be a part of this so that if there's something about you or something that you'd like to share with our audience and with our viewing community, we'd like for them to be able to take it in. So we'll start to my left over here, my military left, that is. Mariceli Rivero. Mariceli, please tell us a little about yourself.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be on this panel with such beautiful women and successful women, and I have the pleasure and am privileged to call colleagues. I'm Mariceli Rivero. I am a graduate from FIU. I have an MBA. I also am a graduate from Barry University with a legal studies undergraduate degree. I am a realtor. And I would call myself a polymath because I have a lot of other licenses that I could talk about. I have a myriad of experiences working in different fields that I share with my students. I've been thinking about what to share in this panel, and I think that the most important thing that I could share with my audience is that this is called higher ed for a reason. It's called higher ed because we have a higher purpose, and that's why we're all here. And so my purpose is to make my students realize what their purpose is, their higher purpose. Because going beyond the K through 12 education takes motivation and inspiration. And so I really like the fact that we're Atlantis, because Atlantis means like a lost magical land. And my job as a professor to some of the audience members here is to have them realize what their purpose and intention and magical or magic is in life. So with that said, my expertise is to share and teach. I've been teaching now for 8 years. I taught at FIU, and now I've teach here 1 year. I love teaching here, and I want to continue sharing that with my students.
Thank you, Mariceli. Irela Bagué.
Well, thank you so much, and thanks to Atlantis University for inviting me. I think I'm the only non-faculty person on this panel. My name's Irela Bagué, and I serve as the Chief Bay Officer for Miami-Dade County. It's a relatively new position, and my job is really to advise our mayor and our county commission on all things related to Biscayne Bay's recovery. We here in Miami-Dade County, the environment is the economy, and so for us, having a healthy ecosystem and a healthy watershed is important to our economy and to our quality of life. So I'm thrilled to have this position, Previous to that, I was a consultant for many years, president and CEO of my own firm, providing public affairs and communications consultancy for many, many private sector clients and also public sector clients. All things environment and resilience. So I'm pleased to be here sharing my background. I'm also, when it comes to public service, I have a connection with your Dean of Academics here, Ms. Bert Stewart, because we both had the privilege and honor of serving under Governor Bush's administration on the South Florida Water Management District. So water does flow through our relationships here, and I'm thrilled to be here.
Absolutely. Thank you, Irela. Professor Shelley Ransom-Jackson.
And good afternoon, everyone. I am, as Dr. Bert Stewart said, Professor Shelley Ransom-Jackson, and I am a faculty member here teaching business. But even more so, I am the first African-American building official woman, first African-American woman building official in Florida. I have been in construction for over 22 years. I'm also a licensed general contractor. I currently own and operate a building code compliance consulting firm, and I work with developers, municipalities, private sector clients, and what I do is simply I leverage my over 20 years of public service, the relationships that I have cultivated over those 20 years, I leverage those to get large-scale development completed. So with that, thank you very much, Dr. Bert Stewart, for inviting me.
And last but not least, we have a guest, Jyoti. Jyoti, make sure that you tell everyone, not only are you a dynamic woman, you are also an Atlantis University student in MIT, which is a classroom full of men.
First of all, hi, my name is Jyoti Singh, and I feel very privileged, and a big thank you to you to give me a chance to speak and to give me a chance to be around with such beautiful, amazing, successful women. My name is Jyoti Singh. I am a student at Atlantis University, and I work as a tutor at Atlantis University. I am from India, country which is diverse in culture. I'm a very spiritual person, and at this special day, all I would like to say is women really don't know that they have way more potential that they think they have, and we should endure our experiences, even if they are good or bad, because that's what makes us grow and make us a phenomenal woman. And woman, as a woman, should always support another woman. That's all I have to say.
Absolutely. And so, need I say more? Can I get a hand for this dynamic panel that we have present today? And so, each woman here has talked about has said something that allows us to know just how dynamic she is, right? We've got Maricela Rivero, who describes herself as say the word again. Polymath, right? Now, I had never heard of that, but it's amazing, and it's interesting that you would say that, because you have women other women that meet that criterion, right? So it's awesome that you would share that. We've got Irela Biguet, the first CBO, what is Chief Bay Officer for Miami-Dade County, also known across the country as the Water Princess, right? So when you talk about protecting our environment, she is known globally for being a member of the community and as it relates to protecting our environment. We've got the first Black female building official, right, in the state of Florida. And so what that means, if I can bring that home for us, what that means is, you know, our hearts were very heavy when Surfside, the buildings from Surfside, when those buildings collapsed, that was an absolute tragedy. And so when I think about Professor Ransom-Jackson, her role is that of, she is the one that is responsible for making sure those kinds of incidents never happen. Her role is, so that's a huge responsibility. She is responsible for making sure no building ever falls. And so that's a monumental responsibility. And then we've got Jyoti. Jyoti, who serves, who is academically engaged and involved at Atlantis University, and one of our students. And so we want to be able to impress and empower our students as well as learn from our students, right? How else do we grow? How else do we know better as a university unless we hear from those of us that we educate? So ladies, let's jump in. Let's jump in. So now, Women's History Month. What does Women's History Month mean to you? When you think about Women's History Month, real quick, what comes to your mind? Feel free to pick up your mic and share.
What comes to mind are all the women that preceded us.
Yes.
Because we're standing on their shoulders. They endured so much more than we did. And we have learned from them, but they opened the doors for us to do what we do now as capable women, especially in male-dominated fields. So that's what it really means to me.
Yes, Mariceli.
What it means to me is diversification. We come from different places, from all over the world, and we strive wherever we are.
Yes.
And along with caring for our families and working at the same time and being prosperous at whatever we do.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Well, definitely, you know, the trailblazers that came before us, obviously, and that, you know, kind of kicked those doors down and the ceilings up, you know, broke those ceilings for us. And definitely what we're doing today to obviously, you know, help that new generation, you know, to hand you something better than we had, that was handed to us, obviously. And when it comes to, you know, environmental history, we happen to be lucky that we had the leadership of Marjorie Stoneman Douglas, who really set the path forward for, you know, really making those connections with our nature and our environment. Everglades is something that is very special globally.
Yes.
And in, you know, restoring that, you know, we kicked off those restoration projects many years ago.
Absolutely.
And they're still ongoing. And so just keeping, you know, keeping those folks, you know, with us at all times as we continue this work.
Absolutely. Jyoti?
I would like to say that as a woman, the intentions that we have to continuously improve and give our best in every role, as a daughter, as a sister, every role that we perceive, and to be there for everyone, whether it's work, whether it's family, and not to get tired of it, you know, to actually appreciate the fact that you get a chance and feel good about it is the thing about women history.
And so with that, on the heels of that, as a woman, now each of you have introduced yourselves and you've said something significant. As we think about Women's History Month and as we think about the contributions of women, is there any particular activity, role that you have played thus far that you are extremely proud of and that you believe will carry on or pretty much establishes your legacy? Any particular act or activity or role, is there anything that you've done today as a woman in today's society that you believe has kicked off the start of your legacy?
After you.
I worked at FIU many years, and close to 10 years.
We're AU. We like FIU, but you know.
But I'm at AU now. But I left over there at FIU, a student organization that is still in place today, and that to me was very important, just like working with my students here as well. And so I encourage them to create whether it's an organization or an event on campus, that they leave their legacy. So to me, I was very proud of that project particularly. I also, at Berry, also was part of the Yucatan Crippled Children's Project, which I was very, very blessed to be a part of, because I lived in the town in Mexico where we would gather students that were in podiatry program and the surgeons to go back to that community and perform operations on the children. And so both of those universities and this university is what my plan is, and my intention with all my students is to create something that they leave behind as their footprint.
Awesome. So your legacy is helping others to leave a legacy.
Absolutely.
Awesome, awesome.
Yes.
Irela?
Well, I would say that my legacy is establishing a collaborative effort across, different stakeholder groups on Biscayne Bay's recovery. When, a few years back when we started seeing a huge decline in seagrass in the northern part of Biscayne Bay, I was asked to serve on a task force and with a number of other stakeholder groups and professionals, and we created a path forward with recommendations. And so one of those recommendations was, having a position that could really coordinate amongst all levels of government, including stakeholder groups. And so
stakeholder groups, when you say stakeholder groups, make sure
nonprofit organizations, academia, and scientific communities. And so we have government, and then we have the private sector, and then that academic sector. And so working all together, there were lots of things going on, but no one was really collaborating or coordinating those efforts. So we recommended the creation of a Chief Bay Officer position. So I warn everyone, be careful what you recommend, because you might just end up doing it. But I have to say that in the past 2 years that I've been on this path, we've done so much work that couldn't have been done without a collaborative effort. So I think that leaving that in place and moving that forward will really pay off in the future.
So people will know the Water Princess long after the Water Princess is gone. Shelley?
So, being a Black history fact, as being the first African American woman building official, what my legacy is that. And what it is, it's letting young women, specifically young women of color, know that they can get into a male-dominated field without altering who they are. They can do that. They can succeed in an arena that do not look like them in race or gender. And so being able to navigate that space and sharing that with our young women. I'm a member of the National Black Association, National Association of Black Women in Construction, NABWIC. And that is one of our main tenets, is that we engage young women in the construction industry, letting them know that this is a viable industry for them. By me having my own business, I have granddaughters. I have actually 7 grandkids, 4 of which are little girls. And I tell them there is nothing that they can't do as long as they put their mind to it. So that is my legacy, is to create a lot of firsts.
Awesome.
Young firsts.
Awesome, awesome. Jody?
It's okay, you're there. For me, it's like I'm still walking the path of success towards my career, but for me is while you still walk that path, you help people. As an immigrant, we go through a lot. You move to another country, people are different. The thinking process is entirely different. You got to make sure that you respect every opinion while you're trying to put your thoughts forward. So my idea is, no matter what country you come from, you help each other in order to grow. and stay with each other. I've been doing things while I was at the very low phase of my life, and I just thought that there's nothing that could stop me from achieving my success because life moves on. So my idea is that you help and you grow. And you put your voice. You stand out, you say when it is the time when you have to say, whether it is in support or against it. But you should put your voice out.
Awesome. So I've asked a magic question. What is it that you believe what do you believe that your legacy will be that you leave? And so now, who are each of you, one, succinctly, briefly, can you identify the woman that has made a difference in your life? The woman that has challenged you to be who you are today. Now, doesn't have to be someone close to you. Doesn't have to be, so whoever that is for you, one woman and an example of one thing that this woman did to propel you and cause you to be where you are today.
So if I talk about myself, I am the first one in my family, rather extended family, who made it to US.
Okay.
And I don't have one, I have two women. They are two elder sisters who knew me much better than I know myself. And they knew what exactly I deserve and what exactly I should do in order to achieve it. So they are the reason that I'm here, and they are the reason of every success and everything that I've achieved.
Awesome.
My two elder sisters, names are Pooja and Aarti.
Awesome, awesome, great story, Jyoti.
I have to say my mother. My mother is actually the person who introduced me to construction. And she was very successful here in Miami-Dade County, where she, back in the early 1980s, she actually ran a program that got a lot of the, actually I would say probably 90% of the minority contractors in Miami started in business. Wow. She provided their support because that was at a time where there was no real diversity in construction projects. And that's when affirmative action was in place. So the relationships that she built over almost 40 years ago are the relationships that are continued and that have actually helped me get to where I am today.
Awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Idella?
So I would also have to say that my mother,
who I know, my business partner,
my inspiration, and someone that has, really shown how adversity can really, help you succeed.
Yes.
She came to this country in her teens from Cuba and didn't know any English, had to work in factories and, but went to school at night. She became, sadly, a single mom, which made things a little bit tougher for me and my brother. But she persevered, and she pursued higher studies and was able to really succeed in her academic, which then led her to work for county government. She was one of the first Hispanic teachers in the Head Start program. And later on becoming a center director. And so she did her time in county government, then came out and then helped folks in public housing access jobs. And so, you can see the track of public service here that kind of just like, rubbed off on me. And she's continues to this day, pushing and is, I think, now very proud of what I've been able to accomplish on my own.
And your mother's name is what?
Magali Abad.
Magali
Abad.
Absolutely. Shelley, you didn't tell us your mother's name, please.
My mother her name is still Velva Ransom. Okay. Unfortunately, she left us in 2016, but her living legacy
Absolutely.
continues.
Through you. Absolutely. And last but certainly not least, Magali.
I have a little bit of a twist. I would say my mother, but I think that my mother's explanation of my future self, or what she saw that I wasn't accomplishing for her yet. And so her phrase is always in my mind. It's finish what you start, Mariceli.
Yeah,
and she knows this because I've already put that on social media a couple of times. But her inspiration, because she came to this country at a very young age as part of the Peter Pan flights from Cuba. And she was only about 9 years old, and she was put on this flight and without her parents or her siblings, and she had to claim them when she was here, and then she lived in California with all her family. She's a daughter of 8. And so it wasn't easy for my grandparents, being in a new country, not knowing the language. And so being a first-generation college graduate is a very proud achievement of mine, and for her as well. And so that is my inspiration, my future self. And because of her, I am able to see that. And so it's always been, that's why I'm a lifelong learner, and that's what polymath is. It's a lifelong learner or searcher of knowledge, and that's what I am.
Awesome.
And I thank her for that.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So Jyoti, your two sisters, so your two sisters, your mom, but for your future self. Did I say that right?
Exactly.
And Mariceli said this is going to be a bit complicated. It is. But we understand. And so I've asked you questions that I hope, I'll give a thought of an experience that I've had. I remember being somewhere, and let's see if this also is for you all. I remember being somewhere, and I was being awarded, honored for something. And so on the board, when it was my time, they had my face, and then they had different pictures. And so the young lady read the bio. And so I'm sitting there, you know, of course, I'm waiting and expecting to go up. And so she reads the bio. And then everyone, crowded room, everyone in the room stands up and gives a standing ovation. I stand up and clap and give a standing ovation too. I didn't realize they were talking about me. I forgot that they were describing me. And so I said that to say I could imagine that it's the same for you all many times, because we work and we walk in our passion for so long, we forget what we've done. We don't really get to see the contributions as women that we ourselves make. And so had it not been for her reading, right, and then someone had to hit me and say, that's you, right? Now, of course, before she starts, I know it's me, but she starts reading this accomplishment and the president and the governor and the this and the own and the, and I stood up with everyone else and clapped, because as she's reading, I forgot, in that instance, I forgot that that was me. And that happens to women, I think, a lot, because I think Jyoti said it, because we're mothers, because we're sisters, because we're daughters, we oftentimes forget ourselves. And we don't get a chance to really step out of ourselves and see the roles that we play and the impact that we make in the communities that we serve. And so I've asked you about your legacy. I've asked you about your accomplishments. I've asked you about the one that inspires you. And so in closing, if I ask you, what is the one thing that you want to do before you leave this earth, what would that be? That's a tough one, huh? What is now this is along the lines of making a contribution, right? This is kind of along the lines of the legacy. What is the one thing, maybe I'll clean it up a little. All right.
I'm ready.
So what's the one thing you don't want to leave this earth without having accomplished?
I'm ready.
Okay.
I do have the most important students watching me 24/7, and those are my 4 kids.
Absolutely.
And so I have 2 adults, children, and 2 little ones. So I'm not done yet. Well, we're never done.
Never.
And so I don't want to leave without them knowing that they can accomplish everything that I've been able to accomplish.
And more.
And more.
Yes.
Because they come from this rooted inspiration of can do no matter what. And that is what I want to leave behind.
Well, I would ditto that on a personal level because I have a son that I'm very proud of, and he is almost graduating from the University of Florida, very proud in sports management. But I want him to know that he can continue to strive, continue to be successful, continue to really, and give back to his community, right? It's not just about making money and being successful and getting awards and accolades. It's about giving back to your community and never forgetting where you come from. For us immigrants, it's important to keep that. So for me, it's making sure that I don't leave without him making sure that he keeps that going. On the professional side, I would really love time to write a book about my life as a water princess.
And I would read it, absolutely.
I cannot leave here without leaving my 7 grandchildren. And hopefully by the time I leave here, I'll have great-grandchildren.
Wow.
But leaving them in a position where they know who they are. But more importantly, they know who they belong to in terms of a higher spiritual sense. Because that is what is most important, is not only who you are, but to whom you belong. And once you know to whom you belong, you get a better understanding of who you are. And so that is, as long as I could teach that to all of my grandkids, and even if they're not, the young ladies that I seek to impact throughout my career, I want them to know that as well, because that is something that I share, that you just have to have connections, not just professional connections, but you have to have a spiritual connection of some sort within your realm, and that is most important.
Jyoti?
I don't have kids yet. So for me, it's not only for my nieces, it's for my whole family. First of all, I want to make them proud every single day. And I want to take my whole family to a world tour. And I have 2 nieces, one is 8 years old, one is 4 years old. I want to prepare them for this current world, for the kind of pressure, for the kind of mindset they need to be successful. Before I leave the earth, I want them to be prepared, and they continue the legacy.
Awesome, 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 awesome. And so I can't forget to ask you real quick, the names of 2 women outside of your sisters, your mother, and your mother. Outside of that, name 2 women that you can think of that just comes to mind immediately that have made such an impact within our society that you believe it'll carry on forever. 2 women, whether it's locally, whether it's national, whether it's global. 2 women that have made a contribution within society, and you believe that their legacy, that the work that they've done, right, will continue on and on.
Well, she's deceased now, but the first woman that comes to mind is Congresswoman Carrie, the late Congresswoman Carrie Meeks.
Absolutely.
Because
absolutely.
she was absolutely the first.
Absolutely.
But her legacy is absolutely amazing. And if I could just be a quarter of the woman that she was as a leader, then that's saying a lot.
Wow.
You know, there are so many women who have impacted and who I look up to. It's funny. One of the other one is a really, really good friend of mine. Really good friend. And that's Dr. Maya Bird Stewart. She's impactful because she's shown, she really is. In all honesty, because from the time that I met her through a mutual friend, she's always shown, one, that you can be authentically yourself no matter what, that you can be highly educated but yet still get down.
Still act the fool.
Well, I wasn't going to say that part. But just what your contribution
Thank you.
as a whole to our community, our society, especially the black women, is what it makes me proud.
Oh, well, thank you. So I wasn't expecting that. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
So I believe I mentioned her earlier, Marjorie Stoneman Douglas, obviously, who is the mother of the Everglades and really has, still to this day, she's been gone for quite a while, but still to this day, there's not a day that goes by that people don't think of Everglades and think of her.
Sure.
So I wanted to put her out there. And then, you know, I had the privilege of meeting Condoleezza Rice in a leadership program. And so, you know, talk about a woman that's stood there with in rooms with very strong and powerful men and held her own. I mean, when I met her, I just fangirled out, and I couldn't even talk.
I would have done
and that
the
never
same.
happens to me. You know me. I'm pretty like, but it was just you know, and I thank women like that you know, put themselves out there in these positions.
Yes.
Serving the public, serving our nation internationally with her work. So, and she's still at it, you know.
Still at it.
Working in academia now.
Yes.
So she's one that comes to mind that really always is a very big inspiration.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. And Mari Sally.
I'm sorry, I have to say her name correctly. I just looked her up. I had the privilege of having Madeleine Albright sign her book.
Oh, wow.
And her book was about pins that she would wear to these really, really important meetings. And if it was, and if you don't know Madeleine Albright, she was our first woman U.S. Secretary of State. And she would wear these pins to symbolize or to help her concentrate on her focus. So let's say, for instance, her conversation was about peace talks. So she would wear a dove to symbolize that that's what she was there for, or a lion because she was just going to attack the issues. And so then I learned from her that these symbols can keep you focused, right? Awesome. And there's a purpose. So everything that she did was with purpose. The way that she dressed, or the way that she, you know, took the time to think about what she was going to put in her lapel. And I think that that was very impactful for me. And if I had to choose another name, because I have a lot of women that have inspired me. At the very first, one of the first jobs that I had a woman that she was my manager. And she would come in and she would say, "Good morning." And then I was like, "Oh my God, what's happening?" And so then I learned that no matter what, it is a good morning. Yeah. It is.
Yes.
The purpose that you have, or the chance that you have to make a difference by waking up. Just waking up and just being there. It's a good morning. And her name was Catherine Tate. And she's in Georgia, and she may not even know this.
Wow.
But that has always been an impact to me, and so it helped me kind of like inspire my subordinates or anyone that I worked with. Good morning. That's some people don't take to it, but they learn to kind of like adjust.
And Maricela, she's right. You know, I think we've all been somewhere where, you know, someone comes in, you always got that hunky-do, happy-go-lucky. It's like, what are you smiling for? Because I'm hungover or whatever the reason. So Maricela, we are very familiar with someone that, is happy-go-lucky, right? But you're right. Every morning is a good morning, right? Whether we receive it as that, whether we count it as that, every morning that we wake up on this side is a good morning. So with that being said, this has actually been more than I bargained for. This has been more than I imagined. Only reason I'm not gonna cry is because if they see me cry, if our students see me cry, they are gonna think the world is gonna end because I'm always raging through here, hard charging. But this has been more than I anticipated. You all have blessed me. You blessed us. I see our staff and our students laughing, smiling, kind of shaking their head, understanding. Was this empowering for you all? Did this make sense to you? Good. And so do you have any questions for the women that are here? No question? Just to say congratulations. Awesome, awesome, awesome. And so you all are here, and if I have a chance to kind of defend myself, because you all just gave me a chance. Now, you all being here talking gives me an opportunity to defend myself, because as I'm raging and I'm ranting and I may seem out of control sometimes, it's because I care. The stories that they have given about themselves, I want for our students. I want for not only our students, our faculty. I want for anyone that's in my space, or if you allow me into your space. And so the things that these dynamic women have said, as they've said, I think each of you have said, you want for others to know you can do it. You can do it. You can do it. You want for others to know you can do it. Right? And so I had not really thought much about Women's History Month, but as a result of this, I am a Women's History Month fanatic now. And we're going to do this every year. And we're going to bring more and more and more people, because this was just more than I bargained for. I knew what I was doing when I selected you. I knew your story. I knew what I was doing when I selected you. I somewhat knew what I was doing when I selected you, but you all, when you present it and you give it, it just makes you feel different, right? I receive it differently, and I think I can say the same for our audience. And so for those of you that have been watching us, those of you that have tuned in to this panel, Atlantis University First Annual Women's History Month event or panel, I think that, as you can see, I'm a little more subdued now than I was when we first started. When we first started, I was the happy-go-lucky, as Maricela described, and so now I'm still happy-go-lucky. I'm just really I'm just honored. I'm proud of the experience that we've just had here. I'm proud of the women that have come to the table. I'm proud of those that decided to stay and to be a part of this, and those that decided to come and be a part of this. And I hope that there's something that we have said that will allow our viewing audience to be empowered, to get up, get out, and make a change, or go in a different direction. If there's anything that we have been able to say or do that will make a difference in your lives, I'm ecstatic. I'm ecstatic. And so, ladies, I will give us a 30-second, each of us. What would you like to say to close out Women's History Month?
Well, it's been an honor and a true privilege to be here at Atlantis University, and like you said, go out and do something for someone else.
I would second that. I am honored, and I thank you for taking the chance because I've only been here for a year. But I do love being here because of our diversity and the potential that I have to impact all my students, all our students. Yes. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to work here and to impart knowledge on these wonderful students at AU as well as FPU. What I would say is go out and conquer the world, but know who you are first.
Wow. Wow.
Thank you.
Wow.
All I would like to say, not only to the women, but to all the students, especially immigrants, if you made it till here, you will do it. It's not easy. Trust me. It's not easy. If you left everything, packed your bags, and came here to change your entire life, you have done it. It's just you stick to the path. Nobody can stop you. You are actually unstoppable.
Wow, Jyoti, on that note, again, thank you so much. Atlantis University, we are proud of our students. We are proud of our faculty. We are proud of our staff. We are proud of those that, again, think enough that you would be a part of Atlantis University. And so on that note, we close out, and we hope that you have had a time during Women's History Month that has allowed for you to make a difference. If not, we've still got a day. Go make a difference. That was